Okay, so I'm just getting started here, opening the windows and so on, which can be a problem. All right. So let's see what we have here. Can someone post a chat message for testing in case you're here? I just want to verify something. Okay, yeah, test showing up on the screen. Great. All right. So let's start the client. The server is already started, and let's start up Postgres so the server can connect. And what I want to work on, at least for the beginning of the stream today, is actually, let me open up the browser here and fit it on the screen nice and easy. So let's fit it here. All right, so let's look at what we have here. So we have, if we go to localhost 3000, what we see is we have a micro Reddit clone here. And that micro Reddit clone can have an upvote. So this is already all working. We did it in the last couple of streaming sessions. And did something happen to live coding? I made an account with them a long time ago and now it doesn't exist. I think they switched to, since they switched to live edu, I don't know, something is going on with them. I don't know what, but something. Okay, so what we have here again is this kind of micro clone to Reddit. And what we can see, if we can go to the server, then you'll see you get those in the server and you also get those in the database. So when we refresh, so we're like now we're on 17. Oh, something is not connected. Okay, let's reconnect. Executing, okay. Oh, I know what's happening. Sorry. So let's go to the controller posts again. And yeah, this is what I'm missing. So post dot votes plus plus equals to vote. Oh, I already have that. And then post dot save. Okay. So now it will actually save it. Or, oh, I need to restart the server. So just a sec. So let's do that. And doing select, and now it's doing update. Great. So now it also persists to the database. And when I refresh, I can see that. So now 22, and it will become 22. And this way I can go down to 2211, right? And when I refresh, the downvote is not actually implemented on the server yet. Okay, great. Great. So this is looking good. But what I want to show today, at least for the first part, is I want to open up the developer tools here. And I think I have a React one. Yes, I do. So let's open up the React one. And what I want to do is I want to highlight updates. And when I go ahead and I highlight updates, what we see is that every time that I update a post, my entire app gets updated and gets re-rendered. And this is not very good for us. Excuse me. This is not very good for us because this is very bad for performance. So just to kind of explain what is happening here, what is happening is that every time there is an action that will update the state, and if we go to the Redux DevTools, then we see that with every upvote, we have a state diff. So this little diff here, we have a state diff. So when I go ahead and I upvote, again, sorry about that. So if I go to the React, and again, I highlight updates, then when I go and I update, all of my components update together. So this is very bad for performance, and we definitely don't want that. So, and this is also something that is being overlooked over and over and over again in React apps, especially those that are connected to Redux. So what I want to focus on today, at least for the first part, is on that. Okay. So let me just do something here. Okay. So I just posted a message here that I read all messages in the chat and respond. Don't be shy. So people that have already been watching the stream, you know that you should ask questions. And people that are here for the first time, first of all, welcome. And second, if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask them. All right, so if we go to the whiteboard here, and we kind of sketch out what is happening. So we have our application container. And inside of our, so this is app. Inside of our application container, we have another container, which is the micropost container. And inside of that, we have components for the container. So this is container 1, and this is container 2. Okay, and this is what our app kind of looks like, right? And now when we have the button here, or actually here, you know, to get represented. So when we click the button, so let's go ahead and click. So when we go ahead and we click the button, we go and we now have an action creator. And then from the action creator, we go down back to the app, right? So this goes to the server and comes back from the server. And then here somewhere, let's say here, we have the reducer. And I'm sorry that my handwriting is so bad. It's just like I need to reach for the whiteboard. It's not that close to me. And then once the reducer kind of refreshes the state and returns a new state, then this state trickles down to the app and then basically updates all of the components that are registered to the state. Now that component update basically re-renders the component. And it re-renders the component in the React way, but it still re-renders the component. And this is very bad for scaling and really bad for performance. So what I want to show is first, you know, I think that a lot of people don't even realize that this is happening. So in order to see that happening in your app, what you want to do is you want to go to the React DevTools and then highlight updates. And once you do that, you will see what is happening and what is being updated. All right. So basically, when I update here, all I want to show is that one micro post has been updated. Okay. So if we go and we look at our code for the client, so let's hide the one here, and we go for the client. So let's open up Vim here, and we go to a micro post. I think we have a list container. So inside the list container, we map the dispatch to the props, and we also dispatch the state to the props. So we actually map the state to the props in the list container, which basically means if we go back to our whiteboard here, that basically means that our state is being registered here, right? So inside of the micropost container, right? And that micropost container is basically passing in the state into the micropost and passing in the state into that micropost, right? But whatever is responsible for registering our state is this one, which is okay, actually, right? So that's not bad. That's actually okay. Okay? So let's look at our code here. And then inside of our list, we see that, okay, so this dot props dot posts, and then we map it with an item and an index, and then we return this dot draw item, which will render a micro post for us. All right. Now, React components actually are, how should I say it? So the state, once a parent has been updated, it will go ahead and it will update all of its children. So whenever this list container is being updated, so let's go back to the whiteboard again. So whenever this list is being updated, so let's point it here. So whenever this list container is being updated, it will, it will trickle down the update to its children. All right. So this is why it's bad. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So how do we go ahead and fix that? So first of all, I want to kind of ask a question to the people in the chat room. I think we have about four or five viewers right now. So people in the chat room, have you ever dealt with something like that, or were you aware that something like that is even happening, and how did you deal with it in your app? So if you have experience with that, then please go ahead and just write it down. All right, so what we want to do now is every React component has something called a lifecycle. So if you look at React component lifecycle, I wasn't even aware. Yeah, exactly. This is a big problem. It's not, it's definitely not so obvious, right? Okay, so now, as you can see here, we have an updating. So an update will be caused by changes in the props or the state. These methods are called when component is being re-rendered, right? So we have a should component update. And as you can see here, we have a should component updates, and we have a next prop and a next state. And then we have a component will update. And the component will update is actually kind of a way to say, okay, I'm already updating. What happens before I get updated? All right. But what we want is really should component update. Okay. So let's see. Component will update is invoked immediately before rendering when new props or state are being received. Use this as an opportunity for preparation, right? So this is the preparation stage. And the really what we want is should component update, and this should kind of return false or true. So what I want to do now is I want to go to the list here, and I want to put this here. Okay, what I want to do here is I want to return false. Okay, simple test. I want to return false here. Now, if I go and I return false here, what will happen is that once something is being updated, then what you can see is even though my state is being updated, my app is not being rendered. All right. So this is bad. All right. So this is very bad for us. But what I want to do right now is I want to console.log the next props. Sorry. So next props and next state. Okay. So let's log that. And just see what is going on and what is happening. Okay, so let's look at the console, clear it up for clarity. And what we can see here is that objects is posts array and the state is null. So props is actually, we have a load post and we have a post, which is an array of 4, right? So what we can do here is we can check, actually before that, we can also console.log this.props, which will actually log our current props. So we do that and then we get 2. And then you see the post is here. So let's update. So let's clear this and update this post. Okay, so you see here. So I update this post. So you see posts and 3 has votes of 37. But the next one, if I go to post and I go to 3, it still has a vote of 37. All right, because we didn't update anything. We didn't update anything in our state. Awesome. So yeah, so this doesn't really make sense for us. So what do we want to do? What we want to do in this specific case is, you know what? Before we actually go here, let's go to the micro post. So micro post presenter here. And let's have the same thing inside of micro post. So let's put it here and save it. Okay, so what we see here is that we didn't get it. So this is okay. Excuse me. Okay, so now what we want to do is, just for the sake of example, is return next prop dot posts dot length equals to this dot props dot posts dot length. So length here, right? And this should actually be not equals, because if it equals, so not equals should be true, and then this component should update. Great. So let's go ahead and refresh. Promise, reference next props. Next props. Okay, so next props, obviously. Okay. So now let's go ahead to the React DevTools and highlight updates. And this is good. Okay. So now if we look at the callbacks, what I want is to actually, I don't want this specific component to update, but I want the children to update. Okay? So let's see how we can do that, and even if we can do that. So we have a force update, and we have default props and component did update. And should, you know what? Let's actually always update the list, but then do that. All right, just for a second here, I just want to see what's going on. Okay, so let's do this and go to the console. Okay. Great. So now let's go and say that this dot props dot votes not equals to next props dot votes. So that basically means that if I have a new vote, then only then update the component. Okay. So this should actually return. So let's refresh, and now we can see that this is happening. And if we go to React here and we highlight the updates, great. Okay, so this actually rendered everything because the rest of the container also rendered. So let's think of a way to fix it without really rendering all of the container and all of the kind of list container again. So If we say that the component should not update, then it will not update, but it will not update the state as well, which means it will not re-render the children. What we want really is we do want to render the children. Excuse me. But we don't want to re-render the parent. But the way it works right now, that's a problem. And what I don't want is I don't want to have a micro post register to the state. I only want the container to get registered. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, so seems like there is no simple option to do it, but I just want to verify a couple of things. So we have component will update. State. Okay, so this will, yeah, so once the state will change, it will basically update everything. Which is really not what we want. Okay. All right. So component will mount and component did mount, that's not what we need. We just need the updating. But the problem is that I want the state to change, but I only want the specific one to change. And not everything. But I don't want to change the architecture where here I kind of register only the list, but then this kind of is a stupid component. Okay, so let's trace our steps back here, and I wanna re-explain it and see, you know, if we even want to fix this. All right. So first of all, let's go back to our whiteboard. Okay. So we go back to our whiteboard. All right. Before I actually write something, what I want to do here is go to micropost and do console.log this.props.id, and then also console.log this. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. And I'm pretty sure that this is a brand new component, so it's always going to be true. But let's see. All right, so this is 1 and true, and then this is 4 and true, 3, awesome. And this is awesome. And what we actually see here is a behavior that I expected, and only this component, this specific component, is being updated, but the rest don't even get that. The should component update, which basically means that they're not being updated. Awesome. Okay, so let's kind of explain in simple words what is the architecture here and what is kind of the preferred way to architect these things with React. Okay, so again, we have our container, but right now we're not going to sketch the list container, the app container, only the list container, right? So this is the list. And this container is being registered to the store. Okay? Which means that it will get updates whenever the store is updated. It will get re-registered, it will get re-rendered, and everything else. Now, the components inside of it, so this is micro post. are what we call pure components or stupid components or whatever you want to call them, simple components, right? All they do is accept properties and render based on those properties. So once you have properties in that component, it can render any place you want, regardless of whether it's in list here or whether you want to render this specific component as like a micro post, here. So as long as you provide the props inside to that component, then that component will render with no problems at all. Okay. So let's go back to our code. And what we see here again, that this list is being updated, and then we have a this.post equals to props.votes, which is great and exactly what we want. Okay, so we can go ahead and commit this. All right. Awesome. Okay, so as a step towards what I've done in the stream yesterday, this is what I wanted to do today. So with what I had planned for today, I'm basically done. So what I want to work on, and I am opening this up to your votes. So what I want to work on is Bashir. So if you haven't seen Bashir, Bashir is a DSL to automate tasks, which basically means that let's say I have tasks that I need to run as an engineer, right? So let's say I have this checklist and it tells me, okay, run this command and then run this command and then SSH to a server and run that command. And it's really, really common when you need to do a release or when you want to do, some operation across all your software and so on and so forth. And Bashir, which is written in Golang, by the way, so we can look at that. So as you can see here, we have Golang. So Bashir basically takes all of that as a YAML list of commands, and then it will run those commands either in parallel or one by one. And then you will be able to go grab a coffee or something like that and have Bashir and handle all of that for you. Now, as a bonus, what Bashir wants to do is this. Right, so let's say, I am a developer. So let's say you're a developer and your workflow, like specific workflow here is this, right? So you have a checklist 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And you want to do like, I don't know, release X point, Y point, Z. And then what you have here is you have a Slack room, not Stack, but Slack. And what you need is to report to Slack, hey, I'm starting one. And then when one happened, you report back to Slack saying, hey, I ran one and the result was successful. And if it failed, then you report to Slack and you say, hey, this is what happened, and so on and so forth. But as a developer, you also want to kind of grab all of that and save that to a log, which is not a huge problem if it was one command, but it becomes a huge problem when it is multiple commands. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to work on today, but I'm in a good mood, and it's Saturday. So I am more than open to your requests. So if you have a request for a code review or something you want to work on, or a project you had difficulties with, please feel free to mention that, and I will do my best to accommodate that. All right. So before I go about even working on Bashir, what I wanted to do on the stream is code review for Stevens. So if you've been watching the stream, I don't know, for the last couple of weeks, you saw us working. What do you think of styled components? You mean components that have their style already in them? What exactly do you mean? Have you used Post CSS before? If so, is it worth learning? Never use Post CSS. Look up Glamorous for React. Oh, I actually heard of that. I've actually heard of that. So React component styling. Glamorous.div. Yeah, I actually heard of that. I really don't have a problem with that. I actually like it. The only problem I have with it is that you need to learn another DSL, and that can be a problem. That's really kind of my only problem with it. Okay. Steam some GraphQL, please. +1 on hating to learn another DSL. Yeah, it's like our entire world is composed of these DSLs. So definitely. um, Definitely. Okay. So the question on Twitch is what is DSL? And I already explained that on the stream, but it's not that I think you shouldn't. So DSL programming, let's do that. Okay, so there it is. It's domain specific language, and you can read on it here. Okay, but basically that means that you develop some kind of language, right? So I think a great example for that will be Terraform, right? So you develop your own domain-specific language, and it's not a programming language, right? I mean, it's very different than a programming language. What it is, it's basically, let's go to the docs here. So let's go to the docs and providers. Let's go to AWS and I don't know, some like auto-scaling group, right? So you see this is domain-specific language. This language is only relevant to Terraform, and it will do something. So when you work with it, you need to learn it. And when you need to learn it, that's another thing you need to learn as a programmer. And it's not like we're missing things to learn. It's not like we have a shortage of things to learn. So that's my kind of case against it, especially in React and so on, which is like filled with like weird DSLs. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to code review here, and tests are failing. Stevens is submitting a pull request to me when tests are failing. It's like, why would you do that? Case insensitive. Okay. Let's look at here. Okay. So tests are failing. I can't even code review that. But that's all right. All right. So let's close all of those up. So in case anybody has something they want to work on or they need help with, then let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue working on Bashir. And if you want to keep working on Node or keep working on this app, then we can also do that. What we can do is we can actually implement the downvote. Okay, so there is a very, very specific request for GraphQL. And we can certainly do that. We can certainly do that. We can actually make this as a GraphQL controller, but I don't think we have enough time for GraphQL. But if you want GraphQL player find, you should go check out fullstack.network. So let me tell you what to check out. So one of the episodes, when was it? Lambda, when was GraphQL? There it is. So you can go check that out. So sorry. Wrong paste. I pasted the Wikipedia again. So you can go check that out. And it's on YouTube as well. There it is here. And it's the same format you know and love or hate. But we basically implement GraphQL here, and you can see that live. And there's also the previous episode, I think, and the episode after that is also here. So you see here, this is GraphQL. You query something in specific DSL again, and you get back your data. Okay? All right, so I think I'm going to stop the stream here. Anyway, I want it to be just a quick one to fix something on what we did yesterday. So thank you guys for being here, and as always, if you have suggestions, you should check out the Fullstack network. We opened up a subreddit for us, so check that out. And if not, then Discord here, then feel free to check that out. All right, so I will see you on the next stream. Bye-bye.